Okay.
So today we're going to make the mother mold, which is the plaster that goes over this.
The mother mold.
Yes,
Okay.
and this morning I was trying to figure out why it was called the mother mold.
Right. And why is it?
My theory that I came up with this morning is that it's because it's supportive.
Oh, nice. Okay, we'll call it the mother mold. I like that. Yes. And that's what mothers are.
So I'm just getting the plaster in here. Yeah.
So now with the rubber, you went from a thinner coat to a thicker coat. Now with the plaster, do you have to make any adjustments on the layers?
No.
Okay.
But what we do is we do first we're going to put a Vaseline mineral spirits mixture on this, so we can just pop the plaster off.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to do a thin coat of plaster on the whole thing, and then we're going to do 2 coats of burlap mixed in plaster.
Oh.
And then we're going to do like just a thicker lip around the whole outside edge.
And why?
So like if you want to clamp the 2 sides together, you have a nice, strong, sturdy edge to clamp things to. And if it was just a thin layer out, it might crack and break.
That makes sense, yeah.
And then we'll do 1 more thin layer of plaster over the whole thing, just to cover the burlap up.
Okay, and the burlap is really a reinforcing kind of fiber?
Yeah, so if it does crack, it will still stay together.
Yeah. So Jasmine is cutting the burlap.
There's a couple different sizes.
Oh, okay.
So I can have some big ones to put in the middle, and then little ones to make sure I can get the edges. So
Vaseline first, right?
I really get around all the little spots.
And you use the Vaseline straight right on?
Yeah, it's Vaseline and mineral spirits melted together and then cooled,
Oh.
which makes it a lot easier to spread.
Uh-huh.
So, for the first coat, I'm just going to make a little bit. You bring a plaster and you just want to like sift it in.
And why is that?
You can see I just want it to like be able to get absorbed into the water. Maybe put big chunks and just have dry chunks with water surrounding them.
Yes.
And you just keep adding until you end up with like a little island that won't go in. And since I've been doing it for a while, it's also about just the weight.
Uh-huh.
But see how it's going pretty slow now to absorb.
Yes.
So that looks about right. And then you want it to just set. You just want it to sit for a minute.
Without stirring it?
Yep. Just so all the individual pieces of plaster get water absorbed fully into it.
Okay.
So now I'm going to stir it for a minute. If you don't stir it, it actually doesn't set up.
And you can tell how long to stir it?
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. Creamy. Okay. Yeah. So this one you can actually brush on.
And usually you need to do a couple coats to have the first.
Yeah, I mean the Vaseline seems to be repelling it, the water in it.
But when you get the first coat on, usually what happens is that it makes these little pockets, and then the next layer will fit in the pocket.
So now you obviously probably have to let this set up a bit?
Well, no, by the time you mix your next batch, things will be hard.
Okay.
You can see the plaster's getting thicker.
Yeah. Kind of an interesting effect. second batch?
Yeah, second batch.
Now this is a little thinner, or the same?
Same.
Same thick, same.
The difference between it being thicker and thinner is just how long you wait for it to set.
Oh,
So you add the same amount of plaster every time, but if you need to work with a thinner plastic, then you use it right away, and if you need to have it be thicker to do the edges, you just need to wait for it to set on there.
okay. Yeah, so immediately I can see that it just starts to cover over
Right.
where the rubber was showing through, sort of.
Yeah, and you want the rubber to be covered before you put the burlap on, so you don't have the burlap showing
Oh, right.
through. Yeah, so you can see it's all covered up now.
Yeah.
Smooth when these little bumps out. So it's easier to put the burlap on
Oh, yes, okay.
without having any air pockets between the first layer of plaster and the burlap.
Mhm.
So I've got a bigger bucket now because I'm going to do the burlap.
Oh, okay. And so why do you need a bigger bucket? I mean,
Just so I can put my hands in there, get the burlap in, and squeegee it out and stuff.
okay, here we go.
Dip in and squeegee it out. And you really want to make sure that you get it really nice and close to the first layer so you don't end up with air pockets. The air pocket, this layer is so thin that it will just break and you'll end up with a big dent. And
Don't want that.
so the next step is to make a nice, straight, thick wall just around the edge for being able to clamp the two sides together.
Yeah.
So now it's nice and thick.
Okay. Oh, it is,
And
yeah.
I'm going to start adding it to the edge.
Oh, yeah.
Alright, let's see. Sticking out down to the other side.
There, that's starting to look pretty now.
So I'm just putting the last coat on. You can find the whole thing together.
Mm-hmm.
So the last coat, you don't want any like super jagged edges, because when it dries, it'll be sharp and
Oh, not easy to handle primarily?
yeah.
Mhm.
Because I don't want the wax person to get cut.
Yeah.
So there's one last step I'm going to do, which I even told you about.
One last step, what could it be that you didn't tell me about?
We're going to put a bar right here. We're going to burlap a bar onto it.
Burlap a bar
Like
onto
a
it.
bar of some kind of metal.
And why?
It will keep it from cracking when we take it off initially.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And the nice thing about having a bar, it's kind of bigger pieces, you have something to hold on to when you're trying to get it off a little bit.
Oh, yes. So this actually will bond itself.
Yeah. Oh,
Whoops.
sorry.
It will bond itself right to the existing plaster enough to
Yeah.
hold onto it and pull on it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Actually, I think I'm gonna put it over there. Yeah, plasters. Okay, so that's it.
Hmm.
Now turn it over and you can see what the rubber looks like now.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so you're going to take the
I'm going to take
clay
this.
shims off.
Yep, and you can see what I was talking about with the rubber.
Right. Oh, there's the rubber. Oh, and there's the registration line. Wow, and isn't that pretty? So the next thing you would do is do you have to clean all the little bits of clay off, or
Yeah,
can yeah?
so I'm going to clean all of this clay off here, and the edges are going to get cleaned up. And I'm going to have to dig in those little finger
Oh,
areas and get all the
right.
clay out.
Right. And then once all that done, then you would put the spray release on, and then do the
The
rubber
4 coats of
layers.
rubber,
Yeah.
yeah.
And another then the plaster.
Yep. And then it's ready to go upstairs for
Yeah.
wax.
So for those of you watching, we're not going to film the second side of the piece, so you're going to have to use what you've learned already to visualize what's going to happen. And when we come back, is that when we'll separate the mold? Or yes, to get the wood out.
Yep, you can separate it, and then you can pour wax into it the next time you come.
Uh-huh. How exciting is that? All right, so stay tuned.